Look at the dog. Look at the dog swimming in the ocean. I like to see it go move.
They just built all this up. These storefronts over here in front of me are all normal, are actual storefronts that were here back in the 1800s. Now, has anybody heard of Tracy's King Crab Shack?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Has anybody heard of the Red Dog Saloon?
Yes.
Okay. Me too, because being the conscientious tour guide that I am, I had to go to these places so that I could tell you the good places from the, well, maybe not so good. So has anybody heard of the wait a second, the Grizz Bar? Yeah, well, that's because, well, it's the not so good one. Anyway, the Tracy's the Red Dog Saloon, I want to tell you a little bit about that because everybody knows about bars having their own specialty drink, right? Okay, well, the Red Dog's no different. Y'all know what the specialty drink is, right?
No.
Okay, so I went in there my first day because I studied. And I went straight in and I said, I want one of your special drinks. And the bartender said, you want a duck fart? And I said, yes, I do. And he said, okay. But while he was making it, he said, you have to take it all down in one shot. You can't sip it. I go, why would I come and spend all this money on a drink and then gulp it down in one shot? He goes, because if you don't, it tastes like duck shit. Anyway, I took it down in one shot and it was pretty tasty. If you look to your right here, you'll see the Juneau Drug right down there. That's the oldest store that's still in business. It opened at as a drugstore back in the 1800s and is still operating as in the 1800s. This building on the left is called the Hangar because it used to be an airport. However, it's no longer an airport. It has a couple restaurants and a knife store. If you like knives, that's a good place to go. I'll tell you a story about that on the way back. But anyway, if you look to your right down this next street, you'll see a brown building with windows. Kind of looks like a parking structure with windows. That's affectionately known in town as the SOB. And it's not what you're thinking. Well, maybe it is actually. It's called the State Office Building. And that building employs more people than anybody in the city. So if you want a job, that's where you go apply. Anyway, if you look to your right, you'll see the governor's mansion up there, that white building on the right with the pillars and the gables on top. Well, that's the governor's mansion. And I called Mike and asked if we could stop for tea, and he said no. So we're not going. Anyway, when I cross this next intersection, you'll see a green piece of art out in front of and I know it's art because they told me it's art. They said it's supposed to be the Aurora Borealis or the Northern Lights, but it doesn't. We all, for 2 months, we all drove around going, what is that? Well, the city didn't like it either, so they put it in front of the art museum and called it art. That's the Museum of Natural History. That's a state museum. And they have a lot of really nice artifacts in there. If you're into museums, you like museums, you can go in there. And I don't think it costs, I think it's just a donation when you go in, but it's very interesting. Now we're going to cross a bridge up here in just a minute. That bridge, we're crossing Gold Creek. And that's where Joe Juneau and Richard Harris Chief Cowley invited those two up here and said, there's gold in here. So right here at the mouth of this creek, Gold Creek, this is where it all began. That's where the first gold was found in Juneau. And so that's where it all started. Now, Juneau really likes statues. So I'm going to tell you about a couple of statues. That tall building to our right has one I'm going to tell you about in a minute. But first, look down to the left. You'll see a statue of a whale. And, oh, the fountain's not on. The fountain comes on about every 10 minutes, and it's beautiful because what it is it's a humpback whale. And it looks like he's breaching the water when the fountain comes on. It's really neat. But this bridge right here is called the Juneau Douglas Bridge. And the reason they call it that is because this is Juneau, and that's Douglas Island on the other side. And I'll tell you more about that as we go too, usually on the way back. But this statue over here at the Federal Building, that tall building is called the Federal Building. So the people of Alaska in the Federal Building decided, well, they needed a statue, or they wanted one. So they contacted an artist and said, we'd like to have a statue of a couple eagles. And the artist goes, I can do that. And he said, okay. So then, unfortunately, another Federal Building down south said, you know what, we'd like to have a statue of some diving pelicans. So the artist said, well, I can do that too. So he did. Unfortunately, on shipping day, it seems there might have been a little bit of a problem because it seems the eagles flew south and the pelicans flew north. So the people down south said, well, we really like these eagles, we're going to keep them. So they did. Consequently, the pelicans are up here. And they actually look more like Jurassic Park birds to me than they do pelicans, but nonetheless, people have opinions. They can call it what they like. Anyway, you know the 3 ways to get into Juneau? You can come. You're a quiet group. I'm gonna have to tell dad jokes here in a minute because I have to know you're still awake back there. Okay, cruise ship. Okay. It lulled you. Okay, I'm going to take care of that. So, the 3 ways into Juneau. You can come by air, or you can come by sea, or you can come through the birth canal. There you go. Now you're awake. Okay. That's good.
That's a good one.
Okay, thank you. Those are actually the only 3 ways to get here because if you know about Juneau, it's not landlocked, but there are no roads leading into Juneau. So what happens is you either have to fly or come by boat because Juneau is surrounded by ice. I'm an optimist. And that silver lining is you don't have to take your shoes off at the airport. There you go. Okay, a few of you in the front are awake. I'll talk louder for those of you in the back. Okay, now if you look to your right, you'll see a little 2-lane road over there. That 2-lane road is called the Glacier Highway. That's the old highway out here. That used to be the only road between Mendenhall Valley, where we're headed, and the city where we're coming from. Well, the people, anybody in Alaska who has a view pays a tax for that view. So these people with the beautiful homes over here had a beautiful view, and then the state came along and said, we need a bigger road. So they put this road in, and this is called Egan Road. It's named after the first governor of Alaska. And so these people over on the side said, hey, wait a minute. You just took away our ocean view, but you're still charging us tax. And the state looked at it and said, well, yeah, I guess we did. So they came along, dredged out these 2 bodies of water on the right and said, filled them with fresh water and said, there, now you have lakefront property, pay your taxes. That's how they do it. Now we're coming to my favorite part of the trip. We have an eagle flying over the top of us. The eagles usually hang out down here because they live in the trees off to the right, but now they're hanging out up at the hatchery because the salmon are running. So they're up there hanging out so that they can get the salmon that are coming back to spawn that are actually dying. So it's kind of an easy catch for them. And being scavengers that they are, they kind of like to hang out where they can get an easy meal. There's a couple of, when you get up there, you'll see a couple of sea lions down at the bottom of the ladder just chowing down. They spend the whole day there eating. Anyway, the other reason I like this is over to the right, we have, it's a dump. But the dump actually has a family of bears who live in there. So if you keep your eyes open, if you see something brown moving through the grass, it'll be one of the bears. They have a mama and papa bear, and they have 2 cubs that live in there. So they stick their heads out every now and then. Yeah, there's a young eagle right there.
Oh, and there's one on the...
Yeah, and there's another young... Now you can tell these are the young eagles because they still have their brown feathers. Until eagles start turning 4 or 5 years old, they keep their brown feathers, so it's easy to mistake them as a golden eagle. But there's a creek down here, and it's got an island on it. There's usually several eagles down there because there's some little fish in there they like to go after. And I'll let you know in just a second. No, I don't see any there. Nope, they're all up at the hatchery right now. So anyway, so the eagles, you've heard of the term eagle eye. Well, eagle eye is an expression that you go, these eagles can sit up here on this light pole, look all the way over to the trees on the left, and they can see a rabbit hopping around, and they can go catch that rabbit for lunch. Their eyes are almost exactly the same size as our eyes, but their vision is so much better. Well, an average, does anybody have any idea how much an average adult eagle might weigh? Good guess. Nope, 9 to 14 pounds would be an adult female eagle. Yep. And their wingspan is 7 to 7.5 feet. So this bus, for comparison, this bus is 8.5 feet wide. Well, the eagle's wingspan is nearly as wide as this bus. That's how they get over to catch that rabbit so fast. But the next time I want a man, you're gonna have one. I'm gonna do it like the female eagle, because what she does is she goes and gets a branch, not a twig, but a branch, because they build these really big nests. So she takes this branch and she flies over the top of all these male eagles. And then what she does is she drops that branch. And when she drops the branch, one of the males jumps up and catches it, and then he flies around above her, and then they run off, and he shows her how pretty he is, and then they mate for life. Well, the reason she does that is because she wants a male who's going to take good care of her family. One who can go hunting and bring food home and everything, because male and female both take care of the kids. They both sit on the eggs to hatch the eggs, and then they both go out and get food one at a time, but they take care of the kids together. So she wants to make sure she gets a good man. Do we have anybody from the Pacific Northwest up here? Okay, so from the Pacific Northwest, we have Fred Meyer. And if we're coming back and you don't know why the ice is blue, you can ask me and I'll tell you on the way out, because I feel like that way I'm not breaking the rules. Well, not as much. But when you do get up to the glacier, they have, we have a lot of bears roaming the area. And this is a true story. Lots of bears roaming, and the bears have the right-of-way. So if bears are sighted in the area, the rangers will close the path, and then they will direct you to another trail where you can see the bears. They just don't want you anywhere near the bears, and they'll tell you that's to protect you and keep you safe. Well, in reality, it's to keep the bears safe. Because some of you look like you might be as old as I am, and you might remember Yogi Bear, Boo Boo Bear, and Jellystone Park with the picnic baskets. Well, these bears like the picnic baskets. So if you have any open food with you, don't take it into the park with you. You need to leave it on the bus. I'll be staying here, and I'll be staying with the bus. So you can leave anything you'd like to leave on the bus. Just don't leave a lot of cash or anything like that, because I don't want to be responsible for it. But if you have any really good snacks, just leave them on the dash. You'll save me a lot of time. No, in reality, I won't go through your bags. I will stay with the bus, and I will not go through your belongings. But if you want to leave anything on, you're more than welcome to do that. But don't take any open food with you, and don't take any flavored drinks. The rangers will have you throw it away. Now, because we are in a national park, I found out they don't sell any single serving bottles of water. And so what they do is they sell these bottles for $5. They're like bicycle water bottles. They're kind of cool. But then they have a water fountain up there, and that fountain is fed with glacier water. So if you want to taste glacier water, take your own container or whatever, but don't take any flavored containers. But anyway, so there's that. Now, when you get up there, that green stamp that I put on your hand, that is to tell the rangers a couple of things. One, it tells them that you don't have to pay in the visitor center because you've already paid your fare and you're good to go. But if you want any treats or gifts from the visitor center, they do appreciate if you pay for it, because they don't like it when we steal stuff. But they do have some neat stuff up there. And then when you come back out, I'll give you a time that we depart. When you come back out, you need to make sure that you know. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself again. Anyway, I'm Pam. My name is Pam, and because we have two Pams who work for the company, our co-workers gave us each a nickname. Mine happens to be Pam Peters, so they call me Peter Pam, and this is my bus, Tinkerbell. And today, Tinkerbell's number is 136. So before you get off, don't forget Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, 136. Well, I'll quiz you before you get off. But anyway, that green stamp tells the rangers which bus company you came with. And that way they can get you back on the right bus to get you back to where you want to go to your ship. Now, if you get on the wrong bus, you might end up going someplace you weren't planning on going. So when we leave here, we're going back to the hatchery. So you want to make sure you get back on this bus so you get the other half of your tour here. You can take a water bottle. If you do have a water bottle and that's all that's in it is water, yes, you can take that with you. But if it's half food, then the rangers will throw it away or have you throw it away. Now, the interesting thing is if you look at the trash cans at the bus stops here, they have a metal piece like this and then another metal piece right here. And you have to stick your hand in and release a lever. Well, the reason they do that is because the bears, if they don't have it hard to get into, then the bears can get into it. So if they don't put that little metal piece up here, then the bears can stick their claw in. So they have to make it difficult for the bears because when they bought these trash cans, they bought them as bear-proof trash cans. Well, 3 days later, the bears went into them. So they recalled them and they put a modification and then they said, okay, they're bear-resistant trash cans and put them back out. Now, when we get up to this next curve, if you look to your left, you're going to see the most beautiful view of the glacier. It looks like the cloud. I'll tell you, I'll give you a heads up just before we get there. Now, also, if you go up to the visitor center, it's very interesting because they have some videos up there, and they have a ranger explaining the bears and how they, they feed and hibernate and things like that. But they also have a video that runs, and it's about a 15-minute video. You go in a little room and watch the video. It's very interesting. Now, if you look to your left, you're going to see your first view of the glacier, and it should be just beautiful right now. It should be very blue. There it is.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's pretty blue today. Some days it's not quite as blue, but today it is. And so if you don't know on the way out, I'll explain to you. I give you the Reader's Digest version. The rangers will give you the geological explanation, and well, I can't memorize all that. I'm old. I have that much memory left. Nonetheless, I'll tell you what I do know. But keep your eyes open as well because right around here is where the bears kind of cross the street because there's a creek up here and the salmon have started running in this creek, so the bears like to come over and get it. So off to our left is where there's a lake on our right and there's a creek on the left. So when we get up here, it's a self-guided tour. Nobody will come and guide you through it. So when you get off the bus, you'll make a left-hand turn and you'll come to the ranger's booth. Then you have behind that the restrooms, and also in that area you have an easy trail, switchback trail that will lead you up to the visitor center. Or if you go straight down the trail a little bit further, there's an elevator that goes to the visitor center if you want to take that. But that's very interesting. If you go to the visitor center, there's an overlook and you can see the falls from up there, and you can also see the glacier from up there. Okay, so we have 1 hour at the glacier, and right now it is 2:25. So at 3:25, I need everybody back to the bus, please. Remember, Peter, Pam, and Tinkerbell, bus 136. I will pull up along this row. I don't know what order I will be in, and but I'll be pulling up along this row, and that's where you'll find me. And if you get lost, ask the rangers. They know who Peter, Pam, and Tinkerbell are. Also, my name, Pam P., will be written on the board up here with our bus number and our departure time of 3:25. Now, company policy states I have to get out of the bus first, and their theory is if I get out of the bus first and you fall, I catch you.